Hello everyone, and welcome to Wisdom and Wealth. Are you feeling the weight of the world on your shoulders? Are you searching for a deeper understanding of life, especially as you navigate these later years? Well, you've come to the right place. Today, we're diving deep into a profound concept from Buddhist teachings, the power of nothing. It might sound counterintuitive, but trust me, understanding this can be the key to unlocking true peace and fulfillment. Before we begin, if you find this content valuable, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Buddhist Doctrine, for more insights into living a richer, more meaningful life. Some people are afraid that embracing Buddhist principles means losing everything they hold dear. They worry about becoming detached, emotionless, devoid of passion and purpose. They imagine a joyless existence, stripped of identity and connection, replaced by a cold, isolating silence. This fear is understandable, a natural human response. We all crave stability, a sense of control, and the comfort of familiar routines and relationships. The idea of nothingness can indeed feel daunting, even terrifying. However, the Buddha never advocated for a hollow, lifeless emptiness. His teachings are about liberation, about finding freedom from the anxieties and attachments that bind us. It's a crucial distinction. To grasp this freedom, we must challenge our fundamental assumptions about reality. We tend to perceive the world as solid, tangible, and fixed. Our bodies feel substantial, the chair beneath us offers support, and the relationships we cherish seem enduring and dependable. But modern physics paints a different picture. When matter is broken down into its smallest components, we find molecules, then atoms, then subatomic particles. Eventually, we arrive at energy, movement, and intricate patterns. At the very heart of it all lies space itself. So, what we once perceived as a thing dissolves into vibrations, relationships, and vast emptiness. Is it real? Yes, undeniably so. But not in the rigid, unchanging way we initially believed. Not solid. Not permanent. The Buddha taught that everything we perceive as form, rupa in Pali, is inherently empty. This isn't a mere poetic expression, it's a profound truth. What you believe to be a concrete object is, in reality, not a static entity. It doesn't cease to exist, but it cannot exist in isolation. It's constantly in flux, influenced by countless causes and conditions. It's open, dynamic, and impossible to pin down. It's not empty like an empty box, devoid of content. It's empty like the sky, vast, expansive, and teeming with movement. Think about it, a tree needs soil, water, sunlight, and air to exist. Without these elements, it simply wouldn't be. Like this explanation? Then remember to like or subscribe to the channel, Buddhist Doctrine. But we often cling to our own narratives, imposing rigid structures on the fluid reality around us. This is my life. This is my house. This is my plan. These thoughts feel powerful, and we hold on to them tightly, seeking security and control. However, it's precisely this clinging that fuels our suffering. We don't suffer because of life itself, but because we resist its inherent impermanence. We suffer because we yearn for life to conform to our expectations, rather than embracing it as it is. We suffer because we cling to the story, ignoring the underlying reality. We burden ourselves with unnecessary weight, resisting the natural flow of existence. The Buddha reminds us that nothing is truly fixed. When we open our eyes to this truth, life regains its lightness, its inherent flexibility. Not weakness, but a resilient, adaptable quality. Life becomes like a river, flowing effortlessly, like the wind, ever-changing, like breathing, a constant cycle of inhalation and exhalation. When we perceive this clearly, we cease our futile attempts to grasp water in our hands. We simply swim, navigating the currents with grace and awareness. This is the first key: what you thought was solid is not. It's not bad news or a problem to solve, but a gateway to profound peace. When we recognize the inherent fluidity of all things, we stop resisting the river's flow. We float, surrendering to the current, and find a sense of ease and acceptance. We smile, appreciating the beauty of the journey, and begin to grasp the true meaning of the Buddha's concept of emptiness. It's not the loss of meaning, but a return to truth. When people hear the phrase, "let go," many automatically associate it with loss and deprivation. They imagine relinquishing the things they cherish, their home, family, career, and loved ones. However, the Buddha never advocated for rejecting life. He taught that clinging is the root of suffering. Letting go isn't about detachment, but about loosening our grip, softening our resistance to what is. He showed us that suffering doesn't arise from the things we love, but from the fear of losing them. We try to hold on tightly to people, plans, and our self-image. The harder we cling, the greater our suffering. When we let go, we don't necessarily lose what we hold dear. We simply allow ourselves to breathe again, to experience life with greater ease and acceptance. A monk once asked the Buddha about the root of suffering, and he responded, "Desire." However, he wasn't referring to a simple desire for beauty or connection. He meant the kind of desire that clings, that demands, "This must stay. This must be mine forever." He taught that peace begins not when we possess less, but when we grasp less. In this light, letting go becomes a gentle, quiet process, like unclenching a fist. You don't necessarily discard the object you're holding. You simply stop squeezing so tightly, allowing the air to circulate around your fingers, feeling the space that surrounds you. You begin to rest, releasing the tension that comes from clinging. We often mistake letting go for giving up, but they are fundamentally different. Giving up implies a loss of hope, a sense of defeat. Letting go, on the other hand, is about ceasing to force life to conform to our expectations. A person who lets go isn't weaker, but stronger, because it takes immense strength to live without constantly trying to control everything. Zen masters often speak of a paradoxical truth: when you have nothing, everything is free. At first, this sounds like a riddle, but upon closer examination, it reveals a profound understanding. When you aren't burdened by the weight of ownership, fear diminishes. When you don't feel compelled to keep things exactly as they are, you can breathe freely, move with greater agility, and live with kindness rather than tension. Now would be the perfect time to like or subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel. The Buddha never urged us to escape from life, but rather to live with lightness and awareness. You still wake up each day, navigate your responsibilities, care for others, and pursue your goals. But you no longer need the world to behave according to your preconceived notions. You remain open to whatever comes, embracing the present moment with acceptance and curiosity. This is true freedom. Some worry that letting go will erode their sense of self, but the Buddha reminded us that our self-image is also a construct, a fluid narrative shaped by habits, memories, and labels. When you let go, you don't lose yourself, but rather shed the illusion of a fixed, unchanging identity. What remains is a quiet, clear, and compassionate presence. Like a bird soaring through the sky, you continue to fly, but now with open wings, gliding effortlessly with the wind rather than battling against it. In this freedom, life returns with renewed vibrancy. You begin to savor the taste of food, appreciate the sound of leaves rustling in the breeze, and connect with the smiles of strangers. You no longer dwell on what you've supposedly lost because you now perceive and experience more fully. You are present, grounded in the moment, rather than trapped by fear. Letting go isn't the end of joy, but its true beginning. It's not the end of love, but where love becomes softer, wiser, and deeper. It's not the end of you, but where you encounter the authentic self that was never truly trapped. This is what the Buddha meant when he taught us to let go, not to become empty in a painful way, but to become open in a peaceful way. The less you carry, the more you can touch. The less you demand, the more you can receive. You don't need to discard anything, just loosen your grip, cease your relentless pursuit, and pause. It is in that stillness that life returns, quietly, kindly, and fully. There's a way of seeing that transcends the limitations of our physical eyes. It doesn't originate from thinking, but emerges when the mind becomes still, like a serene lake reflecting reality without distortion. The Buddha taught that a quiet mind allows us to move beyond reacting and into understanding. We cease fighting against what is and begin to perceive the world, not through the filters of our fears and desires, but as it truly appears. He taught that a pure mind perceives a pure world, not because the world itself changes, but because our perspective shifts. When the internal noise subsides, the external world softens, revealing nuances we previously overlooked. We begin to notice the way the wind caresses the trees or how a stranger's smile can warm our heart throughout the day. These seemingly small, ordinary moments hold profound truths when the mind is clear enough to perceive them. This clear seeing isn't based on imagination or intellectual concepts. It's called Yathabhuta Nanadasana, direct knowing of reality, precisely as it is. It means ceasing to speculate and avoiding the tendency to create problems where none exist. A sound is simply a sound, a thought is merely a thought. You begin to feel the inherent lightness of everything when you stop burdening it with excessive meaning. The Buddha reminded us that emptiness isn't a dark, desolate void, but rather the absence of fixed, inherent existence. It doesn't imply that things don't exist, but that they aren't confined to a single, unchanging form, label, or story. Things are constantly appearing and disappearing, shifting and flowing, like clouds in the sky, constantly changing, drifting, and never clinging to any fixed state. It is precisely this impermanence that makes them beautiful. The common mistake is to prioritize our thoughts over our direct experience. We add narratives to everything: this should last, this is good, this is bad. However, a mind that perceives emptiness doesn't impose such labels. It doesn't argue with what is happening, but simply observes. It witnesses the arising and passing of phenomena without feeling the need to control them. If this is making sense, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel. When the mind sees in this way, it becomes incredibly light, free from the weight of clinging and resistance. In Zen, it is said that real form has no form, which simply means that when we cease filtering our experience through preconceived ideas, we are left with pure, unfiltered life, raw, open, and dynamic. That is the real form, not static or frozen, but fully alive. Like water that adapts to any container without being confined by it. When you begin to grasp this understanding, everything starts to feel more peaceful, not because problems disappear, but because you don't carry them in the same way. You begin to live with a softer heart, listening more attentively and reacting less impulsively. You don't feel the need to prove anything or protect a self that doesn't exist in the way you once believed. And what you discover in this space, this quiet seeing, isn't a sad emptiness, but a space filled with kindness. When your heart is no longer preoccupied with clinging, it opens, becoming tender and sensitive to the world around you. The Buddha taught that compassion naturally arises from this emptiness because when you stop clinging so tightly to me and mine, you create space for others. So, when we speak of seeing emptiness, we aren't referring to seeing nothing, but to seeing clearly, without fear, without preconceived notions, and without the need for control. Just this, just what is. And in that simple seeing, there is a kind of beauty that needs nothing more. It's already enough. That is the kind of peace the Buddha taught, a peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances, that doesn't fade when things change, because it comes from knowing that everything does change. And that's okay. That's life. That's freedom. Most people spend their lives searching for meaning, purpose, and something to finally make them feel whole. But the more we chase these things, the more elusive they seem. It's like drinking salty water. It doesn't quench our thirst, it makes it worse. The Buddha taught that we often look outside ourselves, believing that what we're missing is out there, in success, in relationships, in external validation. But perhaps the problem isn't that something is missing, but that we're looking in the wrong direction. When we stop chasing and simply sit with what is, something shifts. It's not dramatic, it's quiet and subtle, but it's real. We begin to sense that nothing is missing, not because we've finally attained everything, but because we've stopped measuring our lives by what we think we need. The Buddha reminded us that dukkha, or suffering, arises from craving and clinging. And when we stop feeding those cravings, we return to a natural state of balance. It's not that we become passive or detached, but that we begin to live with eyes wide open, seeing that the fullness of life was never about adding more, but about seeing clearly what's already here. In modern philosophy, Gilles Deleuze once wrote that reality isn't a thing but a flow, a constant becoming. And in Buddhism, this is called anatta, no fixed self. We aren't static objects but processes, constantly evolving and changing. We aren't trapped by who we were yesterday. We are always moving, always shifting. Like a river, we carry the past, but we're never the same water twice. When we understand this, we stop trying to hold ourselves together in a tight little box of identity. We stop saying, "This is who I am," and begin to ask, "What am I becoming right now?" The beauty of this teaching is that it's not abstract, it's deeply human. In everyday life, this means we can meet each moment with fresh eyes. We can forgive ourselves more easily, stop comparing ourselves to others, and cease performing for external approval. When we are no longer trying to maintain a solid identity, we can be more present, kind, and authentic. And here is the most surprising part: nothing isn't empty in the way the world fears. It's not a hole but a space where peace can breathe and joy can arise without fear of loss. The Buddha taught that when the mind is free from grasping, compassion appears naturally. It's not something you add, but something that grows when the mind isn't trying to control. This is the kind of emptiness that is full, not of things, but of possibility, like the sky, wide and open, holding everything but clinging to nothing. That is what it means to live with samatha, not as a theory, but as a way of being. You walk, you smile, you help others, and you eat your rice, without the heavy story of me and mine. And somehow, life feels lighter, more sincere, and more awake. Like this video? Then consider showing your support by liking and subscribing to the Buddhist Doctrine channel. This understanding doesn't come all at once, it takes patience, quiet reflection, and honesty. The Buddha taught that to walk this path, we need effort, steadiness, and courage, but he also taught that freedom isn't far away, it's here, right now, in this moment, when we are not trying to make anything more than it is. So, in the end, what do we truly find? We find that the fear of nothing was just a misunderstanding. We find that the quiet space inside us isn't a void, but a source of profound potential. We find that emptiness isn't the end, but the beginning. And once you see this, you are no longer afraid, not of letting go, not of change, and not even of being nothing, because nothing is where peace begins, and from nothing, everything flows. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to the Buddhist Doctrine channel.